Nintendo is at it again. So in early December, there was going to be a Smash tournament that was going to be entirely online, and it was going to be under the Big House series of tournaments. Normally, this tournament takes place in person, and it takes place usually every year, and it's one of the biggest tournaments of the year for Smash, but because of the state of the world, they decided to do it online, and it was going to be for both Melee and Ultimate. But unfortunately, yesterday they tweeted out a statement which said, "The Big House is heartbroken to share we've received a cease and desist from Nintendo of America Incorporated to cancel our upcoming online event. We were informed we do not have permission to host or broadcast the event primarily due to the usage of Slippy. Sadly, all our competitions are affected. We are forced to comply with the order and cancel the Big House online for both Melee and Ultimate, refund information, etc., etc." Now, for those who don't know, Slippy is a modification of Dolphin Emulator, which lets you play Super Smash Bros. Melee online using rollback netcode, on top of having a matchmaking service, a direct connection service. You use gamer tags rather than using complicated codes. It's really, really amazing what has been done, and it's entirely on the emulator side. The actual game is not being modified in any way. It's all entirely using the emulator and custom assets and things like that. And I bring that up because that's important later on, but that's a brief rundown of what Slippy is. Now, to follow all of that, Nintendo was reached out for further comment, and this is what they had to say. I can't find the original source for this, but there's a tweet that's been floating around with this information, as well as several articles, including Polygon, so I'm led to believe that this is a genuine statement from them and not just somebody messing with us. But this is what Nintendo had to say with regards to canceling the event. Nintendo appreciates the love and dedication the fighting game community has for the Super Smash Bros. Series. We have partnered with numerous Smash tournaments in the past and have hosted our own online and offline tournaments for the game, and we plan to continue that support in the future. Unfortunately, the upcoming Big House tournament announced plans to host an online tournament for Super Smash Bros. Melee that requires use of illegally copied versions of the game in conjunction with a mod called Slippy during their online event. Nintendo therefore contacted the tournament organizers to ask them to stop. They refused, leaving Nintendo no choice but to step in to protect its intellectual property and brands. Nintendo cannot condone or allow piracy of its intellectual property. So there are a couple issues with the statement that Nintendo released, and that there are some false truths going on with that, and I want to talk about that here. First, it's not like the Big House or Slippy as a whole is requiring that this be an illegal version of the game. You know, it's not like there's a version that is legal and a version that's illegal, and Slippy and Big House say, okay, we're only compatible with the version that's illegal. That just doesn't make any sense. Now, another way to interpret this is that Nintendo is saying that full stop, if you have a ROM or an ISO of a Nintendo game, that is 100% illegal and you are not allowed to use that, which I don't think is the case. I don't know that there's been anything that's gone to court specifically to say that like a copy of a legally purchased game is also legal, but it stands to reason that I purchased this game. If I wanted to make my own legal backup, then that would be fair use, and I would be allowed to do that under some kind of, there's no law against that in any kind of copyright law. For example, I own Super Smash Bros. Melee. The disc isn't in here right now, I think it's in my GameCube, but I own this game. I can put this into my Wii and use a program that has been developed for Wii Homebrew, and I can back up my ISO. So I can take this legal copy that I have and I can back it up onto a hard drive, bring it over to my computer, and play it on my computer, and that would be 100% legal. The issue with emulation is the piracy that goes with it, but not all emulation is piracy. I mean, you can back up any game you want, and if an emulator exists for it and it's in a readable format, you're going to be allowed to play that because you didn't break any kind of law. So Nintendo is really using this piracy boogeyman to cancel this event, and I suspect it's mostly because they just don't like that the event is happening in a way that they haven't condoned or that isn't official, but official and legal are not the same things. It's been ruled in court that emulation is 100% illegal. Reverse engineering or building your own version of, software that can run specific, games or other software, all of that is legal if you aren't using the intellectual property of, another company. So you aren't allowed to steal Nintendo's code, put it into your own program, and then release it, because then that is technically stealing. But if you were to build a program from the ground up, which pretty much every emulator out there does, you are 100% covered by the law, because that is, you haven't stolen any intellectual property, you haven't stolen any copyrighted, code or hardware or anything, so you're good there. Along with that, a mod like Slippy uses code injection, and code injection has been determined legal in court. Nintendo sued the company who created Game Genie back during the NES days, and if you don't know, Game Genie is like a cheat code thing, and they basically determined that Game Genie was allowed to sell this product and nothing was illegal about it, because they aren't, violating copyright, they aren't violating the assets that Nintendo has created for this game. Now, that kind of argument might need to be modernized because of how much technology has changed since the 80s, but there is a standard for it, and so it stands to reason that Slippy isn't actually modifying anything about the game. You're just using the vanilla game. Everything is on the emulator side, and everything is based on code that the creator of Slippy has written. So nothing is being done to the actual game, it's all on the emulator. So between those two things, that's why the only thing that Nintendo has to stand on is this illegal piracy boogeyman, but like I said, there's no way for them to know that illegal copies of the game are being used, because there's just no indicator. So they're just assuming that everyone's using an illegal copy, we gotta shut this event down. Which maybe just tells me that I think they're kind of just upset that they're not using an official means to run this tournament, because it's done online, and Melee natively can't be played online because the GameCube didn't have online. So it just kind of tells me maybe Nintendo is just like, we don't like that, so we're gonna find a way to cancel this. And the weird thing is that Nintendo also canceled the Ultimate bracket of the Big House. So it's one thing to cancel Melee, because okay, we don't like that, we found a reason to say you're not allowed to do that, you have to comply. But Ultimate was, I assume, using all of Nintendo's own systems. You were going to use Nintendo Online, it was just going to be streamed. I mean, it was going to be like any Nintendo Online tournament that they themselves run. So I don't understand why they canceled the Ultimate bracket just because something they didn't like about the Melee bracket existed. I suspect if the Big House actually went to court on this, they would have a decent chance of winning, but of course the problem with that is you're going up against Nintendo, who seemingly has unlimited money to fight this in court, and we're just a grassroots community, and honestly, it's only like 1 or 2 people who actually would go to court because the Big House is grassroots. So it's just not feasible, and that's why they just had to straight up cancel the event. But I mean, I feel like Nintendo doesn't entirely have a legal precedent here, and it's just they're the biggest bully in the playground. So what can you do to help? First of all, there's a hashtag on Twitter, #FreeMelee, which is by far the simplest thing you can do. It's definitely an attempt. We actually got it trending yesterday, and it's definitely an attempt to get Nintendo's PR people to notice, hey, we really care about playing Melee, and you're not going to stop us, but please stop being jerks. And hopefully they will retract their current action. There's also a Reddit thread where you can read more about it, and participate in discussions. I don't know that upvoting it now will do anything because of the way the Reddit algorithm works. It's been up for 24 hours or so now, so it's probably not going to do much to upvote it. But unless there's new stuff, then you can, upvote the new stuff too. And just keep talking about it. Just keep making noise on social media, because we gotta show Nintendo that we as the Smash community care about Smash. And honestly, the crazy thing about this is it's a huge PR nightmare for Nintendo, because we're in the middle of a pandemic right now. I mean, we're not supposed to be leaving the house. And so that means that we can't go and have Smash tournaments. And all year we have not been able to have in-person Smash tournaments. I know other countries and stuff, but for the most part, we are, erring on the side of caution or on the side of I don't want to die. And so we don't go and have in-person Smash tournaments, which means all we have left is online. And online is fine for Ultimate, I guess, because they have Wi-Fi, but the netcode on that's really bad. But they make do, I guess. But for Melee, there's nothing you can do. And then here comes Slippy, this amazing mod, which is 100% legal. I want to drill that into your head. It is 100% legal. That lets us not only play Melee online, but play Melee online in a better way than we ever have before. And randomly matches us with people. I mean, before you'd have to go through different sites or arrange with your friend. Now you just go hit unranked and you just start playing against somebody. And I think that was amazing. And on top of it, having, the best netcode, so that way actual tournaments can run and it doesn't feel bad. But it's just, all of this was perfect for the current situation we're in, and then Nintendo swoops in and says, no, you are not allowed to do that. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about it because I'm passionate about Smash as a whole. I would definitely not be in this Smash YouTuber position that I'm in if it wasn't for Melee. Melee holds a very special place in my heart because watching competitive Melee sparked my interest in Smash more than just, a party game. And so I definitely have a soft spot for Melee, and anytime that the Melee community rallies together, I'm right there, I'm tweeting and stuff like that. So it means a lot to me, and I think that we as a Smash community should come together. I mean, they did cancel Ultimate too, which is, I think, just as big a deal as canceling Melee, because it seems like they canceled Ultimate out of spite. But I think we all need to come together and say, Nintendo, all we want to do is play your game. So why can't we? Why won't you let us? Please let us play your game, Nintendo.